Earlier today, Outriders got another patch aimed at restructuring the loot from the trials of Tarya Gratar, various bug fixes, and yeah, if you main a Techno, today gives you even more reason to celebrate your favorite class. What's going on, everybody? My name is LtBuzzLitebeer, and we've been hearing about this patch, with text walls being posted over on Reddit by the Archon, but today we got to see it in action, and since I streamed Outriders earlier today, I am in a unique position to provide real-time feedback to what I experienced earlier. But before we begin, please remember to smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive all my future Outriders upload alerts. By the way, the channel is less than 9,000 subscribers away from that magical 100,000 subscriber mark, and I would appreciate your support. Let's go. As always, I will leave a link to these patch notes in the video description below, and I recommend you check it all out on your own, give it a glance, and maybe provide some feedback to the dev team concerning the overall health of the game. So right out of the gate, we knew the devs were looking at ways to change up how players approached our new endgame, the Trials of Tarya Gratar, as the most common method was to use a mule and continually join them right before the final arbiter, farm him with all your respawns, grab all that sweet loot, join the mule again for the checkpoint, and yeah, you get the idea. But I don't think the devs quite went about this one the right way, which I'm going to elaborate more on in a second. So they went about adding extra guaranteed APOC legendary RNG drops to 3 trove areas: the Cliffside Path, Daughter Sanctuary, and the Arboretum. And these guaranteed drops will correspond to the targeted loot option for that trove. So, if you hit the Proving Grounds, which I know is not included in these 3, but if you were to hit it, you should expect a guaranteed APOC legendary pair of boots to be included in your loot haul, because boots are the targeted loot for that specific area. You get the point. Now, they also mentioned that the trove areas will drop their intended targeted loot more often. So overall, they cranked up targeted loot in these trove encounters and added guaranteed APOC legendary drops from these 3 specific locations. Probably because those were the 3 encounters least played by players, just a guess there, but they didn't stop there. Also included with today's patch are reductions to the final Arbiter's APOC legendary drop rate. So the overall percentage, and I guess here amounts, of APOC legendaries to hit the ground from the final Arbiter are now less than before, but they've left the first reward appearing on your screens, allowing you to select one of those 3 random legendaries. And also the final bit here was that they reduced the helmet drop rate from the final Arbiter, so he is now more likely to drop gear that isn't a helmet than before the changes. Okay, so yeah, let's break this all down before moving on to the gear changes, because I happen to be streaming Outriders and I got a first-hand chance to test out all of these new changes. Now, we tried out the Daughter Sanctuary, and I did indeed get an APOC legendary lower body armor to drop along with my other items. But, the changes didn't feel significant in any way. It wasn't like it was raining the best loot, and since it felt so minor, I honestly don't see players deviating away from farming the final Arbiter for these minor loot detours. And here's where I disagree with the devs and how they are assessing this situation. Yes, farming the final Arbiter for gear was and is the most efficient method to get gear in the shortest amount of time, but it is those XP gains, both APOC and Ascension, that you gain that make this farm so damn attractive. The APOC grind is insane in worldslayer, and let's be honest here, players want to get to 40 as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, if the dev team really wants to nail down the root causes for the final Arbiter farm, they first need to address the XP gains issues by making them much more healthy and generous. I would hit those optional encounters if I knew, 1, I could get more and better gear, which, by the way, the gear drops in these encounters is still quite lacking. But more importantly, number 2, if I knew there was a fat chunk of XP waiting for me once I completed that optional area. Just looking over this part, and the final Arbiter farm is still going to be very real. It's just the possible amount of legendary loot hitting the ground that has been altered. But again, as we tested this today on stream, I didn't really see a reduction in the amount of legendaries I was receiving. It was 99.9% stuff I wasn't going to use, but the amount I saw didn't strike me as drastically reduced. The other point I wanted to mention is that I saw zero, nada changes to the amount of helmets you receive when you down the Arbiter. It is still freaking crazy how many of these gear pieces you receive, and then if you're lucky, a few weapons along with it. So I have no idea how this change was implemented, but I'm going to tell you it had zero final effect on helmet drops. Now the patch notes continue on with an explanation and additional notes as to why the following gear and farming changes were made, including upping the amount of guaranteed legendary drops assuming you complete all the optional encounters from 6 up to 9. Now the changes were explained as being too extensive to rewrite large portions of the game code, and so this was the dev solution, along with the fact that they did not want to take away from the retries mechanic. Again, and I'm gonna say it again, yes, loot farming and doing it efficiently is best done through the final Arbiter method. But until XP is buffed and enhanced for all those other encounters, players still aren't going to touch them. Also, if there was some way to procedurally generate these encounters, change them up with different backdrops and or different factions, that would really help out. I see a couple encounters with different NPCs. I see a couple encounters with different enemy types, but more often than not, I know exactly what enemy type I will see because, it never changes. Even different weather effects and lighting cycles would add some pop to the trials. Alright Techno mains, we've waited long enough because this next section is entirely for you. And can you say blanket class buff? And by the way, isn't this already the strongest class in the game? So anyways, Torrential Downpour and Grim Inventor, legendary gear sets have had their helmet and upper armor attributes changed from skill life leech to status power. Now lower body armor for both classes also got cooldown reduction changed to status power as well, and this one is really strong. Now since Techno is basically one huge status effect inducing powerhouse, seeing status power now rolling onto 3 of the 5 gear pieces is just mental. Plague Sower wasn't left out because it also got changed up, so now all the close range damage attributes have been modified to long range damage, which is something I felt needed to be done a long time ago. And by the way, that Plague Sower change is on all 5 of the gear pieces. Now this was done to help synergize better with the PAX tree nodes, specifically the depleted core node, and making these sets more reliant on status power. Techno already heals like a beast, so getting even more pop on your status effects is a change you should embrace. Now the devs also mentioned a full balance pass is incoming, so we're going to need to watch out for that one. But sadly, there weren't any other changes to any of the other classes mentioned in these patch notes, specifically classes also needing buffed skills or, helping out specific weapon types like SMGs or sniper rifles. I guess one can keep their fingers crossed for the future. There was also a handful of bug fixes, including the Ereshkigal encounter, an insta-kill mechanic for the final Arbiter, game crashing while exiting issues, and some general bug fixes to technical performance. So in general, it looks like they're trying to space out the loot drops you get in the trials, but like I said, until they make wholesale changes to XP and loot quality, as well as drops in general, I don't see the final Arbiter farm changing all that much, if at all. We also got huge changes to 3 additional Techno gear sets, making that class even more powerful, and now giving it more options for legendary gear, and then we've also got those bug fixes I just mentioned. Now overall, as a Techno main, I am looking over these changes and just rubbing my hands together because now I've got some additional build crafting to do with all these new gear sets. Now hopefully we get those underperforming weapons buffed in the near future, along with wholesale changes to XP generosity and loot drop quality in general. As always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. Please remember to smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive all my future upload alerts. If you could take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, it would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and of course over on my community Discord server, which has a vibrant and engaged Outriders community. Just check in the video description for my socials and click on the open Discord invite link to join our awesome community. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.